One of the most powerful ways the church offers us an opportunity to be one with another is through the power of music. David Frazier wrote a song he calls "I Need You to Survive." And I'd like to say that as we endeavor to be a community standing together, affirming the worth and dignity of Black lives, we must enter the songs of Black lives with humility, curiosity, and first, we must endeavor consciously to resist the temptation to colonize it with the changes that make us more comfortable inside of it. If we can be present to Black faith and Black faiths, then in solidarity we might enter into the blessed relationship that allows us to deserve to be called allies. In this sense, sing this song with me, with curiosity, with humility, and with joined faith. I need you. You need me.
Sing.
We're all a part of God's body. Stand with me. Agree with me. We're all a part of God's body. It is His will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. I need you, you need me. We're all a part of God's body. Stand with me, agree with me. We're all a part of God's body. It is His will that you are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. Listen, I pray for you. You pray for me. I love you. I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to. Let's sing together. I pray. You pray for me. I love you. I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive. I pray for you. You pray for me. I love, I need
somebody else. You are important to me. You are important to me. Tell two more people, you are important to me. One more time, you are important to me. I need you We have to say.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from creed to king. Love will guide us through the hot night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hot night.
Good morning, my beloved people. I am Kate Walker, and I am so honored to serve as your minister and so grateful for your presence this morning. Whether you are new to this community or a long-time member, giving many, many hours and financial support, no matter what propelled you to set aside this time and join us in this worship, know that you are welcome here. We especially welcome our visitors this morning. If this is your first time, we invite you to stay after our virtual worship for a social hour. We'll go into breakout rooms. If you would like to be in touch with us, please send us an email. We can be reached at info@mvuc.org, info@mvuc.org. That's in Mount Vernon Unitarian Church. We are a community dedicated to welcoming the stranger, working for justice wherever the heavy weight of oppression has dug into the fabric of life. To that effort, we are countering the doctrine of discovery by naming and honoring the traditional indigenous inhabitants of this land that we now live upon. There's the Piscataway, the Powhatan, and the Talks. In this time of increased uncertainty, when we are unable to gather in person, we are gathering in this format to find comfort, to recommit ourselves to the mission of supporting one another in our spiritual journeys, working for the care of the earth and building the common good. We gather to recommit ourselves to dismantling the systems of oppression and injustice. And my friends, it is good to be together. This week in particular, as history has been unfolding before our eyes in brutal and deeply painful ways. We come with our pain, with our anger, with feelings of despair, with exhaustion, confusion, perhaps glimmers of hope as well, and love. Above all else, may we be bringing our love. And we today are going to talk about all of this. We're going to talk about specifically our bodies, individual and collective. We're going to be talking about God's body, your body, their bodies. For as we heard from Glenn right out, we all need to survive. We need to thrive. If justice and collective liberation are going to be achieved, we need to thrive. This month, we are looking at justice and how justice invites us into a call, particularly how Unitarian Universalists can bring about liberation for all. And I'm so delighted that next week, please come. I will be out of the pulpit of the next couple of weeks as I am serving on jury duty. But I am so glad to have Reverend Sarah Green, one of our brand new ministers coming from the Youth and Young Adults program from the Unitarian Universalist Association. She's going to be speaking on the topic of to be our own deacons of defense. And please, you will not be disappointed. I also want to point out in our announcements in the bulletin and Wednesday email is a special program next Saturday called Conscious, Conscience, and Community, a journey in pursuit of African-American historical justice in Alexandria. And this is going to be on Saturday at 10 o'clock on Zoom. Look for the link. And the presenter is our local historian and friend, Pamela Cressy. Please tune in for that. And we've also invited the Unitarian Universalists from the Arlington Church to join us in that. Now, you may have seen in the announcements, and I talked about in that last week, that we are experimenting with a spirit of compromise on our chat during worship. The chat will be open for most of the service except for, we were going to close it during the reading, the prayer, and the sermon. And this helps people who want to focus and not be distracted. And it is out of respect for the speaker as well. But during the other times of the service, you are welcome to share your affirmation and your emotional response if you would like to. If you are having technical problems, you can still send a chat to the host. Well, we have asked you to please turn off your cameras to allow you to move about without distracting others. At the end of the service, after the postlude, we'll invite you to turn on your cameras so we can have a virtual hug and a wave. And please, look to your emails, your phones, and the website. We have continued updates about worship, about church events. In this time of continuing shelter, physical distancing, and so much social disruption, it is more important than ever that you and I and this community be connected with one another. Your staff is here, email, a phone call away, and you are an email, a phone call away from each other as well. I invite you now, take a deep breath as we enter into this time of worship and community.
Why a flaming chalice? The question comes. It's the cup of life, we answer. A cup of blessings overflowing, a cup of water to quench our spirit's thirst, a cup of wine for celebration and dedication. The flame of truth, the fire of purification, oil for anointing, healing. Out of chaos, fear, and horror, thus was the symbol crafted a generation ago. So may it be for us in these days of uncertainty, sorrow, and rage, and a light to warm our souls and guide us home.
Would you turn in your hymnals, please, and sing with me hymn number 1018 from your teal hymnal 1018. Come and Go With Me is an African-American spiritual that emerged out of the horrors of slavery in the United States. The moving text comes from the hearts and souls of slaves desperate for hope held in a vision of a better life. It's a call from the harshest of times in our country, across time and generations. It's a call to envision a time and land where we will all be united in freedom and liberation. The powerful words describe a series of goals like a journey, as we move from a nightmare to a better place. Although the word land is used to name the place, conditions conveying the nature of the place are described in each cycle of the song. We invite you to hold this history in your hearts as a source of hope for a better world. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. Oh, there'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. Oh, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. Oh, there'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound.
I invite you now, from wherever you may be, to bring your voices out in reciting our covenant as the words are found on your screen. Love is the teaching of this church. The quest of truth is its daily task, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve life in community, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. This is our covenant with each and with all.
Sorry, really sorry. Words by Joanna Kotler. Pictures by New York Times bestseller Harry Bliss. Looking at the back of the book, we see some reviews. These reviews are by characters in the book. Cow started it, says Duck. I'm not sorry that I love this book, says Pig. I'm sorry that I didn't write it, says Cow. I wish it came with a snack, said Goat. Sorry, really sorry. Cow was in a nasty mood. Usually she was content to munch grass, rub up against fences, and play with her farm friends. But it had rained the night before, and this morning her hooves were deep in mud. That made her mad. When Duck came along, Cow kicked mud in her face. "Why'd you do that?" asked Duck. "I felt like it," said Cow, "and I'm not sorry." Flapping furiously, Duck wiped mud from her beak. "Hi, Duck," said Frog. "You're all muddy. Want to swim with me?" Duck thought of how mean Cow had been. "No, you gross green glob." "Am not," said Frog. "Are too," said Duck. "Say you're sorry," said Frog. "Sorry," said Duck. Not sorry is what she meant, and Frog knew it. Frog was angry. "I might be green, but I'm no glob," Frog thought. Bird sang out her best song, hoping to cheer Frog up. Frog said, "Tweet, tweet, tweet, your tweets stink." "Hey, why'd you say that?" asked Bird. "I felt like it," said Frog. Bird's feelings were hurt. She thought her tweets were lovely. "Aren't you even sorry?" asked Bird. "Sorry," said Frog. But he wasn't sorry, not one bit. Bird flew up into a tree. There was Goat perched on a branch. "This is my branch," said Bird. "Get down." "But we always share this tree," said Goat. "Not any more," said Bird, and she beat her wings until Goat tumbled to the ground, and she wasn't sorry, not at all. Goat ran as fast as he could. He wanted to get away from Bird. He ran so fast he ran right into Pig. "Oh," said Pig. "I did that on purpose," said Goat, even though he hadn't. "Why?" said Pig. "I felt like it, and I'm not sorry," said Goat. Pig lay down in the farmyard and "What's wrong?" asked Dog. "Go away, I don't even like you," said Pig. Pig honked and snorted some more. Dog just sat there and let Pig cry for a while. Dog said, "I know you like me. We eat lunch together every day." "That's true," sniffed Pig. "And sometimes you even share your favorite waffles," said Dog. "I do love waffles," sniffed Pig. "Goat was mean to me, so I got mad. Sorry," said Pig. And she meant it. "Okay," said Dog. Dog gave Pig a big, long lick. Pig felt better, so Pig found Goat and gave him a nuzzle. The nuzzle made Goat feel so good, he brought Bird a delicious snack, a worm sandwich. And Bird, who couldn't find Frog, left a box of flies with a note that said, "I love you, Frog." When Frog got Bird's note, he found Duck and went to swim in the pond with her. And there was Cow, who had started it all. "Cow," said Duck, "want to play with me and Frog?" "Yes, I would," said Cow, walking into the pond. "Duck, I'm sorry I kicked mud on you." And she was sorry, really, truly sorry. "Why'd you do that?" asked Duck. "I don't like muddy hooves, said Cow. Better now? Asked Duck. Better now, said Cow. And she was until Horse was surrounded by flies. The end.
I love that story. What a wonderful illustration of how we can do harm to others and then undo the harm. We have reached the time for our offertory. Mount Vernon Unitarian Church continues to share the plate with committed organizations that our members have chosen. And for the month of January, it is Arcadia, an organization dedicated to sustainable food and ensuring our most vulnerable members of our community have access to food resources. An incredible organization. You can find more information about them in our bulletin. We are splitting the offering 50-50 between Arcadia and our church, unless you designate otherwise. You, of course, are welcome to write a check and mail it here to the building. You can make payments via text or on your church account via credit card. There's more information in the chat box and on the slide. Please know that your generosity is deeply appreciated. All the money that comes to this church is about fulfilling the mission and vision of our community, that is ensuring the hard work that we all do together collectively happens. During this time of music, we invite you to tenderly name in the chat box or the joys and the sorrows that you have been holding within your heart this week. Welcome to you all. Let us hear our music.
Bless a Stranger with a Smile by Monica Cummings. Take time each day to remember you are a part of the interconnected web of life. Bless a stranger each day with a smile. Tell your people Tell the people in your life how much they mean to you. And take a moment every day, beginning today, to give thanks for all that you have. May you have the strength, courage, and commitment to begin or continue the rewarding journey of self-understanding. May you have the wisdom to forgive yourselves, the grace to ask for forgiveness, and the compassion to forgive others. You are the co-creator of your life. It's up to you. Forgive your trespasses as you forgive those who trespass against you. May you live your beliefs and feel at one with everyone and everywhere. Blessings upon you, blessings upon me, blessings upon every living thing. Blessed be.
Thank you, Marcus. What a lovely reading of Monica Cummings' beautiful words. I invite you now into a time of prayer, personal meditation, and a few moments of silence. I invite you to take a deep breath with me. And wherever you find yourself this morning, I invite you to put your feet on the ground. Maybe relax your hands, empty them of coffee mugs, and just shake them out a little bit. Find that tension in your body and relax. Check your shoulders and your neck and the belly. And breathe. Spirit of life, we call on your energy to fill our hearts and our bodies with your healing and invigorating and joyful presence. Spirit of love, of that universal, radical love of all inclusion, where no one is left behind. That love that comes from the earth and the stars and the galaxies, that love that we are a part of. May that love lift our spirits and our bodies, reminding us that this world has still yet so much to live for. That there is so much more to celebrate than the day's latest headlines. Spirit of justice, we ask you to guide us as we embark on a journey that is long and hard. It has stretched back behind us for centuries, and it troubles us today deeply and profoundly. And we know that land in the future is there. We can see the vision. But Spirit, some days our vision grows dark and we lose the sights of justice. Well, they will be singing in that land. Spirit of life and love and justice, please help us heal. Please help us engage in forgiveness of ourselves for where we have fallen short, and forgiveness of others when we have been disappointed, when our hearts have been broken again and again. Please remind us to forgive. And Spirit of justice, yes, some of us are angry. Let us find ways to express that anger in healthy, productive, powerful, passionate ways, where we can use that anger to connect and build the foundation of justice. Let it be a creative force, expressed in healthy and illuminating ways. Spirit of justice, some of us are finding despair. Let us find connection with others who still have that kindling of hope and love and completely connected to that commitment to justice, to commitment to action. For where there is only love and hope, it rings a false tune. Love and hope are empty without action. Let us breathe in the spirit of life, spirit of love, the spirit of justice. Let us breathe in and know that we too need to heal, need to grow, need to find ways to always stay connected with one another, accountable, responsible, and beloved. This is our vision. May it be so. Blessed be and amen. Thank you, Yvonne. What a beautiful, beautiful song. Breathe with me, my people, breathe. And our tumble forward, we forget to breathe. I invite you to keep noticing the tension in your body. Notice how you're feeling because these are difficult times. Last week, I stood here and I asked you to imagine violence in our US Capitol. That image was out of the 19th century, with our elected officials battling each other with fists and sticks and guns. It is now much easier to imagine that violence with the unlawful and violent invasion by American extremists. in our sacred space. Breathing. There's a lot of language. There's a lot of meanings out there. Interpretations, sedition, attempted coup, vandalism, riot. It was the ultimate act of a white privilege invader, able to sit and claim rights in the Senate chamber and our Congress and throughout the parts of our sacred space. This is what we know. Amongst all the rhetoric and the speeches and the preaching that's going on this morning, this is what we know, that it was violent, it was horrific. And for many of them, it was an intentional, planned act. Others claim to be caught in an uncontrolled mob. They lost their senses and their reason. Still others are in deep denial of the gravity of their actions. We know this, that for our Black, Indigenous, people of color, they were not surprised. For them, this is another traumatic shock in a long line of shocks. We know this as well, that Wednesday was traumatic for white people in a different way. Wednesday's events was traumatic for our national collective psyche and the world. It does seem fortuitous that last week I'm talking about violence and rhetoric and the tension that happens, and that this week my planned topic is still appropriate: trauma. Trauma. It is deep in our country, deep in our bodies, and it has been for a long time. There's been extensive research on the impact of violence in our bodies. We know that stress impacts our health. We know that trauma lives on. And it's passed on from generation to generation through adaptations, coping mechanisms. It becomes part of a cultural, as people engage in behaviors they don't know that 100 years ago was an adaptation to trauma. There's research showing that trauma is possibly passed on through our blood, in our DNA. It is embedded in our American psyche. It's embedded in me and you. It's embedded in our lives. What is trauma? It's important to know what we're talking about. It's an automatic response. It's about survival. It happens very fast. How our body responds. It's part of the brain that we commonly know as the lizard brain. Highly reactive. It responds to a trigger before we're ever consciously aware of it. We do not have control over our response to trauma. It is to protect us. It's unpredictable what will trigger us. It's unique for each of us and how we react. It's individual and it's collective. We can have a collective traumatic response. Triggers may be a loud noise, a car crash, a gunshot, a verbal attack from someone we love, or a stranger. Triggers may be seeing a Black man walking toward us, and maybe a police officer walking toward us or driving toward us. It may be seeing a group of Black people. There are any number of scenarios that our lizard brain perceives as a threat. And it doesn't matter if the threat is real. It's perceived as a threat. Through our deep biases and prejudices and taught cultural lessons. There are individual, unique interpretations. Some of us watched the attack on the US Capitol and we went into shock, perceiving it as a threat. Others did not. Eventually, our thinking brain catches up We give the event meaning. We start to unpack it and give it interpretation. For some, the effect of the shock may wane. It may dig deep into our body, though. What do the reactions look like? Fury, panic, depression. The immediate response from the lizard brain, we've heard, is fight, freeze, or flee. That's the top 3 immediate lizard brain reactions. And then as our thinking brain kicks in, we go into fury mode, panic, depression. We may have more high functioning things, related adaptations, confusion, denial, disbelief, difficulty concentrating, difficulty concentrating, mood swings, irritability, guilt, shame, blame upon the self and others. I've seen a lot of blaming going on this week. Withdrawal, hopelessness, sad, angry. Experiencing any of these emotions does not mean that you're having a traumatic reaction. There are other indicators. You look at the whole picture and you consult with a professional. If the indicators get in the way of living a healthy life, if the reactions allow you to get in the way of eating and sleeping and living and functioning, then a professional needs to be brought in. We can't choose how the body reacts to trauma. We can't choose if the body is going to react to trauma, but we can choose how we're going to react to our bodies. We can choose to become more aware, to heal, to liberate from the internalized pain. And it's important to name that our Black, brown, our Asian, our gay, lesbian, trans, queer, Jewish, all of these identified groups throughout history have been experiencing direct violence on their bodies and their psyche, and they bear a burden that most of us cannot imagine. Those traumas, those burdens are passed on from family to family, from mother to child to child to child. We had a simple illustration of that in our children's story about how one incident can be passed on to another and to another and another. It can be passed on generationally as well, culturally, ethnically. Most of the time we're unaware of it, it's unknown. We just learn to adapt, we learn to cope in unconscious ways. And it's also important to name that our white bodies, those of us who identify as white, we bear trauma of white supremacy, white body supremacy. It is different than our Black, indigenous people of color and Asians and Jews and trans people. It's different. But we still have the trauma of living generation after generation in white supremacy. And one of the ways that we white people like to cope is through compartmentalization. That is, we separate ourselves out from our emotions. Now, being raised Unitarian Universalist, and I have to say that is a strong, strong teaching tool. I learned to compartmentalize really well. I remember growing up throughout my childhood years and well into my young adult years, watching my paternal grandmother in her kitchen. She had an art of leftover container art, is what I called it, leftover containers. After each meal, the leftovers would go into just the perfect size container. And if it came out of a leftover container, it would be put into another smaller leftover container. The match was so important to her. I do the same thing. I learned this, and I feel like it's the same reason why I love office supply stores. Can't get enough of them. Putting everything in its proper place, in its container, with the lid on, where I don't have to look if I don't need it, and over it goes. Just the right size. Separating body and mind. Separating out any emotions we don't want, putting the lid on it in just the right container. Separation of the mind and body, folks, has been an ancient problem for a lot of Western religions. Unitarian Universalists among them, where we are hyper intellectualized. I can't tell you how much struggle I have around stepping out of my academic training, bringing my emotions into wholeness for me, for my beloved spouse and family, and for you. Those containers where our emotions are set aside become toxic. It's a dirty kind of pain. They cause mayhem in our bodies. They're still there, festering. The cost to us individually is our health, our wholeness, our capacity to trust, our engagement with integrity, because we're not being truthful to ourselves, our capacity to connect, our emotional presence in any given moment, and our intimacy, our ability to be intimate with one another. There is a collective cost as well. This toxic trauma is one of the causes of the deep fissures in our society that I talked about last week. The causes of generational pain and violence and oppression comes from trauma. We saw that full bloom on Wednesdays as the Capitol was attacked. It impacts our healthcare system, our education, how we govern ourselves, and how we worship together. In today's world, we are facing so much trauma, racial reckoning, environmental destruction, class and inequality. We are carrying around pain and anger and resentment. We've becoming numb and exhausted. We're all wounded to some degree. We're all aware of those wounds to some degree, committed to healing to some degree. And we want peace. We want rest. We are tired of the conflict. But there's a connection here, folks, to our wanting peace and wanting justice. Peace is not an absence of conflict. That's not peace. Peace is the absence of injustice. Peace is the absence of injustice. I am craving peace because I don't want to see any more injustice. We cannot create justice unless we heal our fissures. We cannot achieve individual or collective liberation. We cannot create a world of beauty, cannot fully be who we want to be. And as Unitarian Universalists, let's just start right here. But getting out our containers, taking them out of the fridge and the freezer and the deep freeze and out of the cupboards, look inside and let our bodies feel the pain, the anger, the joy, the love, the gratitude. That beautiful reading that Marcus read by Monica Cummins. She invites us to be blessings with our bodies. She invites us to let our bodies feel as a vessel of being a blessing. We forgive each other by blessing each other. We truly smile. We truly forgive at a stranger. But it begins on the journey of self-understanding, of our awareness of our bodies. There's a lot of incredible research showing that self-understanding begins and ends with the body and how we feel. Talking is great. Naming it is a first start. Learning and understanding this is crucial, but in the end, we're disconnected from our bodies. We might as well not have one. Affirming the pain in our body and the bodies of our Black, Indigenous people of color, you have to remember that the invisibilization of trauma is a trauma and a form of racism. That's the hardest part for we white people, is to see the trauma in our Black and brown and Asian and Jewish and trans brothers, sisters, siblings. The importance of actually healing, not just coping, not just adapting. We need to thrive. We need to name and feel. There's an incredible opportunity if you are in Priest Point Park, Olympia, Washington, to name what you're feeling. I love this idea. I think we should do it all over the place. At Priest Point Park in Olympia, Washington, somebody in a back corner of this wooded park has put in a rotary telephone. It's not attached to anything. They put in a rotary telephone. They've attached it to a slab of plywood, which itself is affixed to the back of a towering Western red cedar tree. And you are invited to pick up that phone there in the privacy, in the solitude of the woods, surrounded by cedars, and call. Maybe it's the trees. Maybe you're calling out to God. Maybe you're calling to yourself. Maybe you're calling to a relative or a long dead ancestor. But you pick up the phone and you name what's in your heart. You name the pain, the grief, the anger. You name what's going on out there. You say it out loud. People have said it's been transformative. They were, this sounds silly kind of idea, approach, but when they picked up that phone and the words would pour out. For some of them, it was the first time. For others, it's the 10th time or the 100th time. But it's an expression. We often underestimate the power of just naming it. Even if you don't have the witness of another human being, maybe it is a tree and the birds and chipmunks. My people, every Black, Indigenous person of color that I know desperately wants we white people to get in touch with our bodies. I'm telling you, they are so tired with our disconnect between our heart and our mind and our bodies. They want us to take responsibility for our emotional reactions, for our own trauma. It is crucial to slowing down our biases, to stopping the microaggressions and truly becoming anti-racist. So I charge you today to start asking what's going on in your body. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? Ask every day, ask every hour. Set reminders for yourself. What am I feeling? Bessel van der Kolk said, once you start approaching your body with curiosity rather than fear, everything shifts. When we start asking our body, what am I feeling? Not with judgment, not with fear, not with shame, but with curiosity. I next charge you to find rituals, practices that reconnect, realign your heart and your head, and stimulate some healing. Find rituals that embody and connect you to your faith as Unitarian Universalists. Universal love, we are part of a sacred unity, those sacred rituals. Maybe you're lighting a chalice. Maybe you find some way to ground yourself in our belief in inherent worth and dignity, that we're connected and dedicated to democracy and the interconnected web of life. Ground yourself in these beliefs every day and find ways to enact them. I heard a story yesterday about some interfaith spiritual activists out in California who had set up a weekly ritual of drumming and chanting and singing outside of a detention center. where all these people were scheduled to be deported. It was a painful scene inside that detention center, but outside was this weekly ritual of prayer, drumming, and chanting. They just kept doing it. They didn't know if it was helping anybody. But after weeks and weeks and weeks, word got out to them that when they were there inside those being detained, wondering what was happening to their lives, struggling with despair and hopelessness, they began to knock. They began to knock with the rhythm of what was happening out on the streets. They were connecting to those people who were ritualizing their beliefs and bringing healing to those inside. What an extraordinary act, extraordinary gift. For me, I found ways to release my pain and my traumas through dance, through drumming, through singing, through playing the Native American flute just for myself, through writing. I find my center. I clean my energy through yoga and meditation. Every night I do yoga and meditation. Every night. All of us, the key, find a way to do this. Our accumulation of trauma, all those little microaggressions, humiliations, shame, they add up and they weigh us down. We become tired and exhausted. And when there's an accumulation of spiritual practice, the rituals add up. They lift us up. They counter the pain and create a space and opportunity for healing and liberation. And this goal is not just about justice. Justice, yes, but it's about healing through creating dignity and liberation. It's to give a vision of hope to those who are imprisoned. It's an alternate reality that is possible. We are sending and tending the seeds and the growth with our acts of ritualizing. Here's a wonderful, easy way to do it. You heard it in Monica Cummings' reading. Bless each other with a smile. And I know we've got our masks. You can still smile with the eyes. But it's more than a smile. It's more than one blessing. It's an act of resistance. It's an act of resilience. It's an act of revolution done through ritual again and again. And it's based on your faith in each other and the universal power of love. Do it as an act of resistance and resilience. We shall not be defeated. Ritualized healing of trauma is acknowledgement and affirmation that this body is sacred space. This is holy space. Sacred, holy by our being alive. You learn again through inspiration, through each other, and being a creative spark in this universe. My friends, we are in a moral moment of creating sparks. We are honored to be here in this now, in this time. Yes, windows and doors and statues can be broken. Bodies can be broken, but our spirits cannot be broken. If we are going to the work of collective liberation, of establishing the vision of freedom for all and justice above all else, we need to be grounded in social activism, be politically astute, engaged in interfaith organizing, creating cross-boundary coalitions, and ready to engage in courageous acts of peaceful, nonviolent protests. All of this is only possible, though, if we heal our moral, spiritual, and emotional bodies every single day. And then we can listen. We can taste. We can feel deeply and know our path forward. My beloved, may your healing and liberation for all begin and end with your body, with my body, with all of our bodies, our collective body. We are the beloved community. May it be so. Amen. ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall flow down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where like oaks of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come, build the land, my people we seek. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall flow down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
Will you join me as we unite our voices to recite the words to extinguish our chalice, words known within our hearts and can be found displayed upon your screen? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Oh, my good people, keep breathing. Keep breathing. We know that you are breathing. Check in with your bodies. Every day, every hour, find those places of woundedness. Let them heal. Find ways to ritualize your belief as Unitarian Universalist. Find ways to express the universal love and the bondedness that we have. This is how our bodies heal. Go forth with love. Go forth with faith. Come again, for we are always here, one with the other. Hello, good people. Good morning. You are now invited to turn on your cameras, put yourself in